Today we're going over Warrior One. I really like Warrior One for the calf stretch it provides, and I also think it can be really empowering to be able to stand really tall and strong. If you talk to a lot of yoga instructors though, it's kind of up there with chaturanga as poses where alignment can get a little wacky and a little bit dangerous. Basically in Warrior One, all of your joints are involved. So it's just a complex pose. It's not a dangerous pose. It's just complex. And with anything that's complex, it needs a little more attention. I'm gonna stand up here. And part of what we need to be aware of in Warrior One is the internal and external rotation of our hips. Good to see you, Susan and Guy. All right, so stand on one leg and we'll do external rotation. So turn the whole leg out in its socket, and internal rotation. So do that a few times. And notice too, you don't want just the foot to move one way or the other. You want the hip, the knee, and like the second toe to all move in the same direction. And then do the other side. Just feel what you have going on in there. We're not really warm. Warrior One's used in sun salutations a lot, so we kind of blow through the pose, one breath, one movement. So hopefully this will let you tune into the sensations you're getting a little bit more. All right, so that's the hips. And then we have the low back. Normally when I see an injury in Warrior One, it's because the low back has been very compressed. So if you're standing up tall, do a couple of pelvic tilts. So you're gonna tip the pelvis forward, so sit bones move back, hip bones forward, and then tuck the tailbone under, so pelvis is rotating back. Almost like you're doing cat-cow. See how much range of motion you have in there. It's kind of fun to do on your lunch break, right? So we've got that. And then find that spot of neutral. So if your pelvis were a cereal bowl, you would want the milk in the cereal to stay in the bowl. If you tip the pelvis forward, the milk would come out. If you tipped it backwards, the milk would come out the back. So find that, in that really stupid analogy, where the cereal and milk can shine up towards your head. All right, so start with legs in neutral. If you look at any classical versions of Warrior One, the feet are like 3.5 to 4 feet apart. You're just gonna real casually step your left foot back and about hips width apart and about all 10 toes facing forward, and then start to bend and straighten the right knee. And can you keep the low back from getting compressed? This might be your Warrior One. There's no yoga police who are gonna come around and tell you have to turn that foot out. But if that's what you're looking for, I recommend putting some weight on the front foot and then starting at the hip socket, just like you did standing on one leg, externally rotate that left hip, left knee, left toes. My toes probably turned out 30 degrees or so. You could go 45. Don't get the protractor out. Just feel what's right for you. And lean in and out a few times. And then settle in. And you want equal weight on both feet. If you think of a warrior could, jump up and move wherever he has to go or she has to go to defend him or herself. If all of your weight is on the right leg, you're not going to be able to do that. You want to be able to jump left, right, forward, back if you have to. So it's like that athletic stance, ready position. And then go ahead, step the left foot in. Wiggle it out a little bit. Step the right foot back. So you might already get some calf stretch here. You're welcome to stay here. Think about straightening and bending that left knee a couple of times. You want to bend the left knee so it's ideally over that left ankle. Some schools of yoga will say even come past that a little bit. And then when you feel like you have your balance left and right, forward and back, turn the right thigh out to the right. So just like when you're standing, right hip, right knee, right toes are all in the same direction. It's not just the right foot or the right knee cranking out. And then try to square your hips. But here's the secret. The hips are not going to square perfectly forward. So be aware of anywhere in your body that you feel like a lot of tension and soften those spaces. Maybe bend that back knee a little bit. Take the compression out of the low back. And if you're like, I feel pretty good here, maybe widen the stance front to back. I guess it's lengthening the stance. And then the arms. Go ahead, stretch the arms up overhead. So I like to do, this is from the Ashtanga tradition. I stole it from them. You can do any arm variation you want, but I like hands pressed together and then gaze up at the thumbs. Straighten the elbows. Lengthen the low back, think navel back, core is engaged. You can really do any arms you want here. You can do eagle arms, hands at hips, you can do a back bend, but you're starting with a nice long low back and a toned core. So you're not overdoing it anywhere. Go ahead, step that right foot forward. All right, so some other options here. In the past 50 years, other schools have said, they're gonna do warrior one a little bit differently. So step the left foot back. You're gonna go into what many of us would call crescent lunge. Same principles, squaring the hips, long low back. If you can't keep the low back long, so sometimes what happens here is you get like a lot of low back bend, you start to lean over that front leg. Remember, you're looking for your warrior stance. You could go left, right, front, back. Lower that left knee down, back knee down. Arms up. And you might be saying, Kaitlyn, how am I ever gonna make it from so low on the ground to warrior one? This is what you do a few times a day. Lift that back knee up, keep the spine stacked over the hips, and lower it back down. You do this 8 times a day, every day, you'll be holding your crescent lunge in no time at all. All right. Let's do it on the other side just to keep us square. So right foot back, crescent lunge. Think about pubic bone pulling up towards the navel, long side bodies, arms up. Another variation I like is interlace the hands, release the index fingers like a steeple. Square the hips. So in this version, there's really no external rotation of the right thigh. It's going to want to go to the right, squeeze it in. Lower the back knee down and lift and lower a few times. It's fun. It's work. This might be honestly more work than warrior one. And then you can see too, as you're moving through your warriors, and they don't go in order, it doesn't go warrior one, then you do warrior two, then you do warrior three. You can, but that's no set sequence. You'll notice you're playing with that internal and external rotation of the thighs as you go. So let's sit back to, we'll do right foot forward, left foot back. Good old warrior one. Set it up your way. Take a couple of breaths to get there, however you like. Press through the inner borders of your feet. Press through the outer borders of your feet. Feel your left thigh bone rotate in towards your right hip point. Keep bending the right knee. Straighten the elbows. So now if you wanted to come to a warrior three from here, you'd find more internal rotation on the left leg and then start to float forward. But you're cognizant of the movement. Nothing's cranking. You're in control of the pose. Warrior two, left foot forward, right foot back. Long torso. Find that angle in the right hip that works for you. If your feet are square, your feet are square. Arms up. Notice how comfortable your neck is looking up. Do you need to look more forward? Maybe you're trying to look at the screen and look at me, you look down. Equal weight on both feet. Bending into that left knee. Maybe as you hold here a little bit longer, you can start to sink in to that left leg. Let the left foot scooch forward. And now if you wanted to come to warrior two from here, open the arms, and you have to externally rotate the right thigh more. And then turn it back. Mindfully. And then go ahead, step forward. So that's really it. There's no right or wrong in Warrior One, as long as it's pain-free. You find your alignment that works for you. If the legs already take quite a bit of effort, let the arms go. It depends on what you're working with, where you are in your yoga practice right now. If anyone has any questions that we didn't cover, definitely let me know. I think it's a pose too that sometimes you can play with. How much do I want to squeeze the feet in towards one another? How much do I want to push them away from one another? And if, again, you're checking in to make sure there's no tension, unnecessary tension anywhere in the body. One other thing. If this back heel wants to lift up a little bit, see what it's like to let it lift up. As long as you're not overdoing it, like you don't want to overdo it on any of the joints, you don't want to overdo it on the Achilles tendon. So there's no heel police. Just be aware that your muscles are moving your body into the pose.